It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Make sure you head to Game 7 Baseball. First fall ball tournament happened this past weekend. Got some more coming up. Look, if you're looking to get some extra swings, enjoy the fall. Hey, you know what? Get a bunch of your friends together. See if you can make a lineup work. And go out and put my fall ball team name, if I had one, would be the Potato Guns, because we mash. That's all I'm saying. That's all I got to say. And that's where I'd be, because fall ball, it's enjoy. It should be some fun. Should be a way to get some extra swings, help you just keep your swing in place if you're playing other sports and things of that nature, while you set up and head into the off season. So make sure you check out Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. You tell Dave and Dave that Brian over at Youth Baseball Midwest sent you guys. Also want to just say, please, if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button, like it, share it out with your friends, comment below. You got some comments as we're talking here. I've got some fantastic guests on here. Please do. I'm going to start off with, as always, the guru himself, back from a whirlwind weekend. I'm sorry we couldn't make it out. Just some personal things that ended up happening. But Kevin Moulder, the guru himself, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Doing very good. Had a great Mo Fall games in Columbia. A lot of state talent, a lot of talent around the state, and a lot of guys from the central part of the state as well. So enjoyed it, and the fall is always one of my favorite times, because you're going to deal with, most of the time you're going to deal with great weather, and we certainly had a good day on Saturday.
Absolutely. What'd you have? I think I counted 146 dudes out there.
Approximately, yes. So it's a good amount of guys. We had 5 games, so 10 teams, and had a lot of fun. Had a good day of it, and Columbia was busy, to say the least. We were fortunate. We wrapped up, and I was on the road before the Mizzou KU game got out, so I was thrilled to kind of beat some of that nonsense and traffic on the way out of town.
Yeah, because it's bad enough already getting into Columbia. My goodness. I'm better you than me, man. I don't know how you keep all that straight with that many guys. That's just crazy, dude. I know you get some guys to help.
I have a big team. And a lot of help. And, takes a lot of planning, a lot of organization. And Atkins Field is also a good spot for it, with the 5 fields and a nice facility to run it at.
There you go. And joining us all the way from Ashland, Missouri, the head coach of Southern Boone High School, Brian Ash. Now, folks, before I welcome him, I want you to know this gentleman here has been coaching for quite some time, 400-plus wins. He's a 3-time state championship, and as Mr. Moulder has pointed out at times on this, the only head coach to win in 3 different classifications of MSHSAA in the state. Brian Ash, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Kevin, good to see you as always.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
Guys, we're going to be talking about the central part of the state. And, I sent a spreadsheet. I'm this way because I want to know more about baseball. And as this year was the first year we ranked like Class 4. Class 1, 2, and 3, I can't imagine. I don't know, maybe one of these days we'll get into Class 3 and we'll start working down towards that. But my goodness, it's a lot of work to follow all of these teams, get to know the coaches and things like this. Brian, when you're looking at the central part of the state, when you're looking at scheduling, when you're looking at these things, Southern Boone's a Class 4 school. I mean, the scheduling and the distances and the things that you guys have to deal with on a regular basis in scheduling, playing quality competition, getting that has got to be a challenge.
It is, particularly for the bigger schools, the CMAC schools. I think it's a challenge because you've got to go to the cities. There's just not a lot of bigger schools in Central Missouri. But I never look at classifications. I always try to look at like talent and is a team going to make my team better? And honestly, like for me, I could go play a Class 5 or 6 school, but I can go down the road and play a St. Elizabeth who's Class 1 and actually get more out of that than probably playing a bigger school. So I don't look at classifications. I just look at talent level. And traditionally speaking, the St. Elizabeths, the Fatimas, Eugene, all have very, very good teams. And then even up north, Northeast Cairo has had some really, really good teams. Harrisburg has had really good teams. So it's not really the size of school for me. It's about, the programs that have been built and traditionally are pretty solid. So in this area, your smaller classes, like there's a ton of talent. And, we're kind of in that, we're Class 4, but we're not a huge Class 4. Fatima is Class 3. And they've actually dropped down to 3. They were Class 4 for a little bit. And then obviously this year enrollment every year is different. If you look at the football landscape, a lot of the Class 4 baseball schools, they dropped in a class for football. Like an example would be Blair Oaks. They were Class 3, now they're Class 2. So how's that going to shake up in the spring? Are they going to drop down a little? Like you just don't know. So, but again, Blair Oaks obviously is they're just a staple in our area and across the state because they play an unbelievable schedule and obviously have had a ton of success. So around here for me, it's great. We don't have to travel. We do more so just to break up the monotony of just playing the same teams all the time. So,
Kevin, your thoughts, talent, you just got done looking at a bunch of kids and especially the young talent coming in. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm just to Coach Ash's point that the way that Missouri does it, you don't even know when you're doing this schedule where people are going to fit in class-wise because of the swings. And Coach, I'm correct about this. I believe the football is not necessarily a reflection how that's going to shake out with baseball, right? They don't follow. It's not
100%, but it could. There's a lot of because it's very similar on the breakdown between baseball and football because there's 6 classes. The cutoff line with enrollment are pretty similar, not exact, but they're pretty similar. So it does kind of have a little bit of a reflection, but it doesn't always guarantee it.
Yeah. And I like Coach's point there on the, following the talent and the quality of the program because certainly, and I know Coach Ash does this. I'm a huge believer in playing good competition, challenging yourself. Now, there is such a thing as getting over your skis and getting the team buried as well. So finding that right mix when you might be one of the best 3 or 4 class schools in the state, but you can't do an entire schedule or jump into a situation where you're in game 6 of the week and you're trying to take on Staley or Francis Howell Liberty. That you probably don't want to put that freshman pitcher in that situation for the first time.
You are accurate. That is, and again, you said it best. Don't get over your skis because here's the deal: sports, kids build confidence off success, and if you just try to go out and play the best of the best of the best every night, like you are going to have to throw some younger kids against a Staley or a Francis Howell or a Rockbridge or whatever the case may be. And you're trying to balance, I guess, confidence with a young team in particular, or maybe even a smaller team. So it is a balancing act. You have to try to find a good balance of it. and there are some schools that like they will play anybody anywhere at any time. I know Coach Tao at Rockbridge was under that category. Tony Perkins, obviously, that guy would play 4 games on Sunday if he could. So, but it also is a reflection of their program. They're really, really good and talented. And but for me, a Class 4 school, I've got to have a little bit of a balance. We certainly want to be challenged, but you also can't. The pitching piece really does come into effect, like Coach Moulder had said. So having that freshman out there against Francis Howell or a bigger school that is pretty dang good, like, is that building that kid's confidence, or are you destroying it?
Yeah, in my comment, it was more for like the middle classes. Like obviously, they're
Right.
The class it's just different.
Sure.
It's a depth issue. The best player in the state could theoretically be at a Class 1 school.
Right.
But if we're going down the line and who has, their 9th pitcher on their staff, Class 6 is always going to have the best, pitcher 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on their pitching staff comparative to the Class 1, 2, 3.
Correct. Yep.
We looked at Blair Oaks. Coach brought up Blair Oaks. They have a coaching change. Mike D'Amelia, who's been the head coach there, won a couple state titles there, has helped that program continue its legacy. Is taking off, heading up to Missouri Valley College. Congratulations. NAI school there in Central Missouri. Chris Ebright is taking over for Blair Oaks. Coach, you could probably speak to this. I'm sure there are some coaches that have followed you where you've been and went like, great, I got to follow this guy. Is it hard to take over a program that's had so much success as a young guy and keep that same momentum going?
I would say a lot of it is based
follow
on
him, Ryan.
What I think. I do think that the experience level that a coach may have, like as a coach, have they been involved in programs similar to like what they're going into? To like just experience, like amount of years, have they handled like the ebbs and flows of the highs and the lows? And I know Coach Ebright. I don't know him personally, but I know who he is. I've seen him coach. He and he's been a kind of a little bit of a journeyman. He's coached college. He was at Lincoln University. I think he's been at several other universities or colleges. He was an assistant at Helias. So he knows the area. And he obviously applied for the job knowing the expectations. And I think, everybody wants to kind of be a part of that culture. And obviously Mike D'Amelia did a great job of building that thing up. I mean, I don't know, 8 years that he's been there maybe, or he was there. I think, 3 Final Fours or 4 Final Fours and 2 state titles. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And Blair Oaks obviously has talent. I mean, there's no question about that. And so for him to come into that position, I think his experiences at all different levels will certainly help kind of navigate through the expectations of that program. So he'll be fine. I'm looking forward to playing him, and I'll miss Coach D'Amelia, obviously, being over there in the third base box and that relationship that we had. But Mike's going to do – I think he's going to do a really good job at Missouri Valley.
Yeah. Kevin, when you see those kind of changes and shifts, just from the outside, you're looking into that. When you see these, and there's a lot of changes because it's the same thing with Jeff. Is it pronounced Bazat or Bazat?
Jeff Bazat.
Bazat. I mean, These are a couple of guys stepping into big shoes, Kevin. Your thoughts on, especially in these two programs.
Yeah, speaking in general terms, it helps when the coach has already been in that program and kind of knows the system and was a part of the system helping to that success. A key part to any program is having great assistants, and clearly those programs have had great assistants. So, but it is a different role. Sometimes there's great assistant coaches that aren't great head coaches, and great head coaches that aren't great assistant coaches. So it's it is a change. It always helps when you have some good seniors. I think that would probably be a greater indicator. There was a coaching change at Staley. Coach Rosenberg didn't seem to have any problem this year. It helps when Brody Earlbeck is your ace, and the amount of talent they had. I'm sure he would be the first to tell you that that's a good situation to walk into. But it can be done. But it is also a challenge, and like I said, it's the true measurement is more on over a span of time, because we see certain teams rise up because there's a good amount of talent, or like a really strong class, or like two good pitchers come through in the same class and they're loaded for that little time. But I kind of keep an eye on the ones that are consistently there over, an extended period of time, and that tells you that it's more of a program than the players.
And it's Bazat, right? Jeff's been an assistant there, I think, 20 years? I think he was part of that 2014 championship season with Rockbridge. So this is a guy that understands the program, understands the expectations. And I do think, unless he, how do you understand? And I think this is one of the keys, and where I think even in high school sports, especially some of these higher level programs, Coach, you're becoming, as a head coach, more of an administrator than you are maybe the nuts and bolts every day.
Yeah, you really are. And if you're not delegating duties to your assistant coaches, you're going to have a hard time lasting, especially nowadays. And to kind of refer back to Coach Bazat, like, he is in a unique situation because he's been a part of it for 20 years. He's helped build that program. And Coach Tao may be gone from the coaching box, but he's still at school. He's still teaching. So there's that resource in-house. I think they're bringing a lot of the same assistant coaches back on. Jeff is also an alumni. And I think part of that advantage he's going to have is he's from the community. Like, he went to Rockbridge. He knows I call them FOPs, the friends of the program. The people, when you need things to get done, you can call them and things will get done, whether it's fundraising, whether it's, whatever you need help to kind of, make things go for your program. He's going to have that. And so that is an advantage. He already has those resources, and I know Jeff is going to be a great head coach. Like, I believe that. Not that he won't have his challenges, because we all do, but they're in a really good position, and the kids already know him. So I don't know how much change there's really going to be, other than just it's a new name, and the program will continue to be who they are. Really, really good.
Yeah, they've been real, and they do have talent coming back. It's not like, the cupboard's bare. And I love that situation. Coach Ebright, I think these are two separate scenarios. Ebright's coming into it. Nobody knows who he is. I think there's more of a feeling out process there, and that building of trust from the kid, from the player to the coach. Who is this guy? We've heard Coach D'Amelia's voice for the last 8 years. Now what? And the expectations. And Kevin, you probably see it when kids come out to the ballpark for the first time. You saw a bunch of freshmen come out. There is that sense of, what do I do? And there's a little tension there, isn't there?
Definitely. Dealing with all the classes like I do, and Coach Ash does as well. Obviously, if you're a high school coach, you're dealing with the freshmen and seniors. So, as those kids age, there's just a more a level of confidence and maturity that comes with the territory, and usually a lot more efficient at practice and whatnot. But when there is that newness, especially like starting when the kids aren't familiar with you, then it's just, you have to start at building block one and build the whole thing up. How are we stretching? How are we playing catch? When is on time? Is it 5 minutes early? Is it the actual time? There's so many little things that go into running a great program, and that's a huge piece of it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get into a couple of things here. You mentioned some programs, Coach, and one of the conferences that stood out to me, and I got to know a little bit more as we watched, was the Central State 8. And you mentioned Eugene, you mentioned Harrisburg, South Callaway is one, Tipton, Lynn. New Bloomfield, if anybody doesn't know, New Bloomfield holds the record for the most state championships in the state of Missouri. I don't know if anybody really knows that.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware. I actually when I student taught here at Southern Boone, the guy that was the head coach, Rod Haley,
Yes.
he was coaching, and I remember we played fall ball, and that was my first taste of getting to meet him and the watching him just like pre-game activities that they're doing. I'm like, so that's how you do it. That's what I'm thinking. And it was very intense, and it was like, it was, everything was accounted for. Everything had a purpose. And I want to say he didn't have like a long extended period of coaching time there, maybe 12 years, I think. But I think they went to like 10 Final Fours in that stretch and won 6 state titles. And they have 7 overall, which is obviously the most of any high school in the state of Missouri by, I think, 2. But yeah, it's a legendary program. And I don't know if you mentioned Russellville is in that conference too, I believe. And, they've been young the last couple of years, but that was a program that had a ton of talent and had a lot of success. Coach Branson does a great job there. All those coaches in that conference do, but Russellville is one of those teams that you just, they're dangerous, and every year they're good, they're well coached. So that's a very strong conference. Like, we played Tipton last year because we knew it was a close game for us, like as far as proximity, but we knew they had a couple really good arms. So we're like, yeah, let's get hooked up. So we played them a doubleheader. I think we won 1-0 the first game against the Cashman kid, who honestly was probably one of the top 3 pitchers we saw all year, no matter what class. And then they threw a lefty at us a second game, and we ended up winning like 5-2 or 5-3. I can't remember, but 2 really competitive games. And I think they end up going to the Final Four maybe this past year, if I remember right. So again, 4th. That's another team right there that I didn't mention earlier, but at Tipton and that whole conference is just, they're really, really good.
That conference is stacked, Kevin, and we don't see that much of them, especially in the metro area, because it is what it is. But it's Class 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. These are mostly Class 2 schools, and this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this, because it's some of the top teams in the state. They get talent, they get what they get, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions, Kevin. Class 2 school, you're dealing with kids, maybe a 15-man roster at the most at times. And if you can get that kind of pitching, how far ahead are you?
Yeah, one thing I really enjoy about the small school, it kind of takes you back in time a little bit to honestly what I think might be a better spot to be in terms of athleticism and athletically. You're going to see a lot more 3-sport athletes. You see that quarterback, guard in basketball, shortstop combination. You see a lot more 2-way talents playing a position and then also pitching. And I think there's a lot of value in that. At the larger schools, that is harder and harder to do. And oftentimes you'll get coaches in certain sports that are more demanding and will say, hey, you're going to only do this, or majority of the time you're going to do that. And I think that's a little unfortunate, especially early in high school. I highly prefer, playing multiple sports, and not everyone can play 3 sports. Not everyone, has that type of athleticism or desire. It is a lot, but I do think there is some cross-training benefits there. Coach, what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure you have lots of multi-sport. I know your own son is the multi-sport athlete.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what Kevin said. We're kind of in that weird. We are Southern Boone, like we're big enough, but we're also still small enough. Like if our best athletes aren't playing at least two, you're going to see across the board that our programs as a whole are going to suffer. The 3-sport athlete, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think I have 2 or 3 that are on my baseball team that play 3 sports. And it's a rarity. I can look back when I first got here. Honestly, the majority of my kids that played baseball all play three sports. So you're starting to see like the decline in that. And I don't know why. I think Coach Moulder hit it. The demand and the time, it is a lot. You're asking a lot of the kids, and at the end of the day, they need a little bit of rest and recovery. And it's where our coaches have to get together, and they got to be on common ground on like what the expectations are. And hey, if that kid can't make a 7-on-7 event because it may just be rest, or he may have he's coming back from a baseball tournament, like kids need a rest, and the coaches have to work that out and just make sure the kids and the parents understand, like, it's okay if you miss something. You're not going to be penalized, and it's okay. And so that's just how you have to handle it. Just communicating across all levels with the parents and the kids and the coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's hard on the athlete too, because they get into that confusion a little bit in their mind, and they're like, am I letting somebody down? Am I letting coach down? And confidence wanes, and then you start seeing poor performance. You go, hey, why? Well, coach, I'm trying to do this, but and sometimes I don't know if they know how to handle it in that respect. Am I correct?
I was going to jump in and say the other interesting piece, and this is where it takes some really good people at that high school, whether it's an athletic director or one of the coaches, to just be at the forefront of this. There's a difference between, if you got an athlete that's playing 3 sports, and he might be the best basketball player in the conference. This is probably the most likely scenario. And this kid is, going to go for 20 points a night, and just a very good high school player. And that might be the most sport that he impacts the most at the high school level. And over for Coach Ash, and I'm just picking him for an example, he's an okay, he hits 340 and, and isn't his best pitcher, but, has a 90-mile-per-hour fastball, and he's 6'3" and lean and just a good athlete. And then over in football, maybe, he's really fast and he's a great wide receiver, a good quarterback, and he's more impactful for the football team than he actually is for the baseball team. But Coach Ash is sitting there thinking, and honestly, not even thinking, knowing, well, he's not actually going to play collegiately in basketball. And he's, a good football player, but he isn't going to play collegiately, or maybe he's going to play at a small school for football, but he might be a pro baseball player. And that's sports number 3 in how he impacts it at the high school level. And that could be reversed as well. But I would say that is a very common thing that I see across the state all the time. And the kids often don't know it.
I've never thought about it like that, Kevin.
Yep.
I hadn't really. That's a great point.
We've had that conversation before with certain players where you've said to me, like, oh, don't you think he's going to be great at so-and-so? I'm like, well, no, I don't. He's just going to pitch when he gets to that school. He's not actually going to have to play center field and hit.
Yes. And
even though he hit 450 for his high school team.
Yeah.
That is just not how it works.
It's just honesty, right? It's just honesty. And I think being honest with players and honest with ourselves sometimes, that's where I think the rub comes, and you get all the other comments involved rather than the best thing for the athlete, right, Coach?
Yeah, and I think Kevin, a guy like Kevin, can be the outside eyes, because let's be honest, when you're a coach and you're in the mix and you're in the dirt with them, it is often hard for the coach to be real with the kid, because they just love that kid so much, and they think that kid may be a high level Division I prospect in baseball or whatever sport, and they probably aren't. And that's where someone like Kevin with the outside eyes could be like, hey, look, like, he's very talented, but like, he's not going to hit at that level. but his arm works. And so like possibly on the mound, he might be able to play at that level, but it's hard as a coach. Like it really is. And, Kevin's coach, he gets it. You build that relationship with that kid. And it's like, yeah, I really think you can. I think you can play at that level. And then in reality, it's like, are you doing that kid a disservice? I don't think coaches do it intentionally. I just feel like they just pour so much into it, and they want to see him achieve something at the highest level they can. And oftentimes it doesn't work out. But, at the end of the day, it's also the coach's job is to be, hey, let's keep all options open, never turn away a school because you never know. And then you try to go on these visits, and like with the fall showcases and things that PBR does, it's a great evaluator and tool to see where you stack up with some of the best talent. And then usually kids kind of have an idea kind of where they stand. So that's a great thing with what Kevin and their group and organization does, because you kind of weed out a lot of kids that think they're a Division I kid, and because they all want to play Division I. Let's just be real. They all think they're going to an SEC school. In reality, it's like maybe less than 1%. So,
Coach nailed it there. You can be you often are too close to the situation as a coach, because your job as a coach is to push a kid, help him reach his dreams. You want so badly to see them succeed. I just had a great talk with at the Mo Fall games with those players before we even started the event on the landscape of recruiting. And, I don't want to say feel bad, because I'm kind of beyond that at this point. It's just educating these guys on this process. Now it's really slow. But the other main thing that I pointed out to these kids, and I follow them all, gone are the days, unfortunately, when coach is going to send one of his seniors off and he's going to follow them for 4 years, and that kid's going to stay at that school for 4 years. Like, that is now the rare exception. More often, coach is going to send his kid off to a 4-year school. Then he might be going to a junior college, and then he might find his final home. So he might like going to 3 schools is almost common, and going to 2 is pretty normal. I'm not saying I love it. That is the reality. And, these kids do want to be Division I players. And, 6 years ago, they probably were Division I players, and now they're not, because now they have to start at Division II, spend 2 years there, be an all-conference player, and then they're in the portal and they're getting all sorts of calls. And, they might even be getting a little money to go to that next school. It is such an interesting dynamic, and it has changed so dramatically, really since COVID really kicked it off, and we're still kind of going through that. But then you look at what happened with the transfer portal and NIL, the extra year, now the roster shrinking. So there's so many factors when, a typical Power 4 program would have 50 plus guys in there, and now those kids all hit the portal and they have to be down into the mid 30s, which is kind of where they're going to target for their fall roster. So now you're looking at 15 to 20 kids times however many schools all jammed into the portal. If Coach Ash is a Power 4 coach and I'm the high school coach, and I say, hey, coach, I really like this guy, and he's going to look at me and go, yeah, he's 17 or 18 years old, and he's got an option of taking a 21-year-old that has 350 college at-bats under his belt and is 15, 20 pounds stronger than my high school kid. It's going to end up being an easy decision for Coach Ash on that one. And that's kind of what's happened.
It's a no-brainer.
Well, and to go back on that too, we talk about the Power 4s and the bigger conferences, but and I'm not gonna, but I'm pretty sure, I think UCM, who's a Division II school, I think they had 4 kids who were selected in the draft. 4 kids. You can go up and down the line, but that's quite a few kids, and so that's a Division II program. Now, they're unique. They're not like every other Division II program, because that thing's just been a monster for a long, long time. But they get Division I talent. But again, like Coach said, like, hey, they're going to get a lot of D1 kickbacks and stuff, and that's, that have those experiences and those at bats and log those innings. And so, but that's part of that success that they've had. People will seek them out to go play because they know they're going to win and play for meaningful games. So.
This year, Central Missouri had the most draft picks of any school, high school or college, in the state of Missouri. I was fortunate enough to coach there for a couple of years, and I love pointing this out. Now that I'm removed from it, I realize how I did at the time, how special of a program that is. I refer to that as the LSU of Division II baseball. Yep. Facilities are on a whole nother level, and just great coaches, great town. They support it. Central Missouri is a phenomenal place.
You look around the landscape in Missouri at Division II baseball, and it's really good across the state. I mean, UCM is the crown jewel of it, of course, but I mean, down to Missouri Southern, Quincy's, well, that's Illinois, but the two, Maryville, UMSL, playing well here. I know I'm leaving somebody out, Kevin.
That has been something like the ripple effect, if you will, that I have. You can visually see it for those that have been in. Coach Ash could certainly as well. Those that have been in the game and around it for long enough. Division II talent has risen. Division II baseball is playing at a higher level than it ever has. You go back 15 years ago, a Division II baseball game looked differently than it does now. The amount of 90-mile-per-hour arms and just really good talent at Division II baseball has greatly elevated.
Well, and I know we're kind of going afield, but I love this conversation for this simple fact. We point out, and I've said this, and I believe this very much, when you watch the landscape and what they're doing. When Major League Baseball started, especially after COVID, they really scaled down the minor league systems. They took away teams. They did this. And I believe it's what they were doing. You have the Power Four conferences. They knew that could be a place. And I believe that's become a almost instructional league, rookie league, is the Power Four conferences. You get kids going there. If you're going there, it's almost your major league draft pick thought process that way. You're playing at that level. Not that the guys going to D2 and whatnot, but I think everything's risen because of that, and they're utilizing those Power Four. SEC is basically minor league baseball. You can say it just is.
Well, Major League Baseball did this intentionally. They cut out 30 rounds in the draft, and I guess they went from 50 to 40, then to eventually 20, and they cut levels out of the minor leagues, and they figured out, rightfully so. These guys are really smart business guys that they can let the colleges develop these guys. There's a huge risk, no matter how talented these high school kids are. You're taking this kid at 18 years old and trying to project what they're going to be like when they're 24, 25 years old, when they're going to greatly impact the big league roster. That's a low percentage play, no matter how talented the kid is. You give them 3 years of SEC experience or high-level college baseball experience, you now know who can survive that. The pressure and the environments those kids are playing at in those college situations are unrivaled until they get to the big leagues, quite honestly. So that, taking a kid out of college that's 21 years old and has been through that ringer, is a much higher percentage play than taking the high school kid.
Yeah.
And from an owner standpoint, a better business investment.
Yeah, and to this point, and this is where I think for a high school coach, I think it's better if we can settle these things down. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I think we got a long way to go. But just getting back to that, the D word, development, and letting kids develop at the rate they're physically able to. I think that's the biggest thing. I understand. Kevin talks about it. He always tells me Brian, we're talking about projectability. He may not be the best kid right now, but projectability wise, we see these things, and this is what this goes to. But you got to let this kid develop. And I think for quite some time now, we've put so much on that kid that we don't give them time to actually physically develop or mentally develop to that place. And I think if we can get this in the right places, Coach, you probably see a lot of these kids being in some of the smaller. You get this kid, but physically maybe not ready. He has some time to get there.
Yeah, and to the reverse side of it too, I think. Well, we live in a microwave society, so. But you're also seeing these kids who are bigger, faster, stronger, and they're wanting to throw 90 miles an hour when they're a freshman. And, that's great if it is a natural type deal. But, like, you're seeing a lot more of, like, the different throwing programs. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but, like, you're having a lot more injuries because of it, because it's an accelerated development. Like, so, again, you hit it, like, it takes time. And, if I've got a kid as a freshman that, so let's say he throws 80, by the time they're sophomores, like if they could be throwing like around that 83 to 84, and then junior year like 85 to 87, like it needs to be a progression. Like it can't be, well, man, he's throwing 80 now, let's see if we can get him to throw 90 by his sophomore year. Man, you're putting a lot of risk into that. And like I tell my kids all the time, your biggest attribute to this team is your availability. And if you're not available, like you're doing nobody any good. And it just, and I understand the parents are a part of it too. Like they see a talented kid that they have, and they just want everything done for them right then and there. And unfortunately, if the kid gets hurt, they're missing out on development, right? That's what we're talking about. So, and then now they're kind of climbing back through the hole per se to get back to where they were. And then now they got to even work harder to get to where they want to be. So, I don't know. It's just, again, there's just a lot of pressure on these kids to be like right now. And I supervise games for our sports programs, and, you can just see the intensity in amongst our parents. Like they want it right now. And it's like, holy smokes, like just calm down a little bit. They'll be okay. And you're right. The best kid when they're 15 years old does not mean they're going to be the best player on your team when they're 18. Like there's no correlation to that at all. And quite frankly, you see it more the other way, where that kid who's kind of an outlier, if they stay with it and they do work and they do develop, most of the times they're going to pass that kid up who was better at an earlier age.
Yeah.
100%. see that all the time.
Hey, and I think winning, and this is the thing, I think it's interesting, and we're gonna finish up on this, and we'll get back to it. We're gonna talk about some of these, but this conversation, I just love this, and I love to hear from Kevin and Coach Ash here on their thoughts on some of these things this way, especially because it's so prevalent in our culture, in sports culture right now, because as I've learned a lot over the past 5 years doing this show. And that's one of the things I wanted about this for Youth Baseball Midwest, the most comprehensive youth baseball talk in the Midwest. And having guys like Kevin come on, like Coach Ash come on and talk about these things, the perspective. And that's what we have to keep. I think it's just perspective. I had Gonzo Gonzalez. It's the first thing I'd never heard this before. He's a pitching instructor with Mac and Sykes. He says, your tendons don't fully develop until you're 26 years old. And I about dropped my face to the ground. I'm like, wait, what? What did you just say? He says, oh yeah, that's science. Okay. And it goes to what we're talking about here, development, allowing the body, allowing the things to mature at the rate they should. And I think if we can do that, if we'll slow ourselves down, if a kid's throwing 90 and it's natural, fantastic. Good for him. Bully. I'm all for it. We all know that velocity plays. It's the truth of it. But when we're looking at these things and allowing these kids to develop at the levels they need to, that they can physically achieve, I think that's the key to success, and allowing coaches to develop kids as baseball players, as pitchers, as hitters. I was giving Mitch Thomas some business the other day because he always his big line, and I think it's fantastic. He is this way. It's Mitch. Swing hard in case you hit it. Well, that's why we only have 5 guys in the major leagues hitting over 300. And I know people disagree with me, and that's fine. You can put your comments below, but I think we've lost the art of baseball. We've lost the art of pitching. We've lost the art of hitting. And final thoughts. I'll start with you, Kevin.
It's certainly changed. There's a lot of metrics and numbers and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of people who agree with that statement. I think it's a blended approach is in my opinion, the best at this point. Take the availability of the new technology to use it to your advantage with taking the best from the old school approach and kind of blending it together. Is kind of the mold that I like, but there's certainly guys that go to the extreme of either side of that. So,
yeah.
and have had success, and that's the beauty of the game. There's lots of different ways to accomplish things.
Coach?
I agree 100% with Kevin. And for me, we do a blended version of it. Like I'm still a lot of the old school approach. I love small ball. I love running the bases correctly. I like all that stuff, but we also have we have the technology. We have the Rapsodos. Because you can't run away from it.
No.
Like I was anti all that stuff, but like if you're not doing it, the kids, like I want our program. So here's my motto, like to our kids, like when they come here, when they graduate, I want them to have like what I call a major league experience. And what that means is like, we're going to do everything in our power to give you the resources and the best experience that we possibly can. And part of that is the technology and blending it into how we want to play the game of baseball. But you also have to have the right kids too. If you have a bunch of smaller, weak kids, why are you trying to play for the 3-run homer all the time? Like you're not going to win. So like I may have a kid or two that can do that, but for the most part, like it's all about on base percentage and find a way to get on and try to move runners over and run bases and score runs. Like that's what we're trying to score runs. So, so I agree 100% with Kevin. You've got to do it. I think a good blend of it is the best.
Absolutely. You got to balance things. And I agree wholeheartedly, because I always like to put, these are the things that are out there, but understanding technology and using it to your advantage, giving the kids the opportunity to understand what that means, how that works, who you are as a baseball player, and giving them their tools that they need to succeed in what they are at that point and work to grow. And that's what you do, because that 5'10" kid that you're talking about, Coach, right now is using his speed, getting to whatever, may end up being 6'4", 220 hitting bombs. We don't know yet because he's only 16. And that's the thing, because then you see his dad over there, he's standing 6'6", and he's a big guy, and you're like, well, this could possibly be the case. So I think it's just the reality of the adults in the room taking perspective to things and making sure that we're on track and we're doing what's right for the kids. That's what I think. And I think that's always the best policy, my opinion.
Agreed.
So, as always, I hope thanks, guys. I appreciate Coach Ash. We're going to have Coach Ash on more. He's going to be coming back on once a month. We're going to actually get to the conferences, Coach. It just went there, so I went with it.
No, all good. All good.
So we'll talk more about the conferences as we go through the off season. Coach Ash going to be contributing his thoughts. As always, the guru himself, Mr. Kevin Moulder. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time as always.
You got it.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate it. Please, if you like what we're doing, support us. Hit the subscribe, like, leave a comment, share it out with your friends. We do appreciate it. And until the next time, everybody have a great day in the Lord. Lord, all you pitchers. Kevin,
Keep throwing strikes.
there you go. And Coach Ash, you got some advice for hitters?
Swing at strikes. That's about all I got. Swing at strikes.
That's good advice. That's good advice. We'll see you all next time.